What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Genesis Open. We are a day late this week. I apologize. Sometimes life happens. Got a little busy this week, and with Pebble Beach ending Monday morning, the data was a little bit behind from my provider. So my apologies. Please forgive me. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into this week for the Genesis, which is being played at Riviera. And we are going to start right here as we do every week with the cheat sheet, and we'll talk through some of the more interesting plays on the board. So 5 guys over $10,000. Dustin Johnson headlines this field, followed up by Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, and Bryson DeChambeau. Those 5 guys over $10,000. It's another week with DJ having killer course history. Pretty uninspiring effort last week of 45th at Pebble, but if you're an optimist, you can kind of contribute that to him coming back from Saudi Arabia, the travel, maybe that played a toll on him, just kind of faded over the course of the week. But again, another beautiful course history. It's 6 top 4s in the last 9 years. Not top 10s, not top 5s, not top 20s, top 4, 6 times in the last 9 years. You know, his course history this week and last week are like none that we see. It's basically like Hideki at Waste Management has a similar course history. Bubba at Travelers. Like, these are elite course histories over the course of the PGA Tour. And what I was thinking is, you know, there's really one main driver of ownership. There's multiple, obviously, but the one big one is always when someone is very popular or very expensive, and he lays an egg. Now, DJ did not necessarily lay an egg. He made the cut barely and finished 45th, but that's a disappointing performance. So people who are owners who rostered DJ last week will be less likely to come back and roster him again this week. So I just for kicks, I pulled up his game logs here, and I wanted to go through and see, okay, you know, when DJ has a bad effort by his standards, what does he do next? And these are all of his PGA and majors starts going back the last couple of years. And we just go back, okay, so I'll just kind of point out his worst performances, and then we'll talk about this. So last year's British Open, the Open Championship, missed the cut, followed that up with a win the very next week at the RBC Canadian. What you'll notice is he doesn't have a lot of bad finishes here. A 54th at the British Open the prior year, followed it up with an 8th again at the RBC Canadian. A missed cut at the Farmers Insurance in 2017, followed it up with a 3rd place at Pebble Beach. A 35th at the WGC HSBC, followed it up with a 6th in his next start, which actually would have been at the Tournament of Champions, which was a few months later. Missing the cut at the PGA Championship, 18th at the Barclays in his next start. 41st at Pebble Beach, followed it up with a 4th at the Northern Trust, which is what this tournament, the Genesis Open, is now named. It's Riviera. So just kind of going through here. 44th at the Deutsche Bank, 7th at the BMW Championship, 49th at the Open Championship. He does not do well at British Opens, does he? Followed it up with a 7th at the PGA. Miscut at the FedEx St. Jude, goes out and finishes 2nd at the US Open, 69th at the Players, 8th at the AT&T Byron Nelson. So what you can see here is a couple of things. DJ does not have these like outside of 35th or 40th place finishes often, and when he does not stay down for very long. So if there's going to be guys we'll buy back in on, DJ has been one of the most consistent elite golfers over the course of the last few seasons. The other guy that really pops off here in the upper 10Ks or in the 10K range is Rory. And we're starting to see him play more tournaments or different tournaments. This isn't the first time he's going to play the Genesis. He's played it 2 out of the last 3 years, but he's only played here twice. It's a 20th place finish in 2018 and a 20th place finish in 2016. We're seeing him come off a 5th at the Farmers, a 4th at the Tournament of Champions. He has the type of game, you know, it can be absolutely deadly off the tee to translate here. So for 10,700, that seems like a pretty good buy. But the one guy that really kind of popped off on my screen here a bit was Xander Schauffele. Xander is all the way down here at $9,400, which feels honestly like like a bit of a steal. Okay, so he wins the Tournament of Champions. He won the WGC in his start before that. 25th at the Farmers, 10th at the Waste Management when I had him in a one and done, and really, he got a little unlucky in the desert on 18. I think it was on Friday or Saturday. He just he gave back a couple of strokes that we normally wouldn't see, but otherwise, for like 69 of 72 holes, he was pretty great. Ends up finishing 10th and kind of gets forgotten about. Has only teed it up once here at Riviera. He had a 9th place finish, but I mean, this is less than Bubba. This is less than guys that I think might even also draw more ownership. And if you look at the projected win percentage, Xander's got the best odds to win in this range, 3.7%. We've got Tiger at 1.7. We've got Bubba at a little less than 1%. Hideki, Spieth, and Tony Finau all like 2.5%. So amongst his peers, much better chance to actually win this event, and I don't disagree with those calculations. How Kuchar got down here at $8,500 is a little confusing, right? He has been one of the hottest players on the planet over the course of the last few weeks here. I mean, he wins the Sony, he wins Mayakoba, he's got a 4th at the Waste Management, showed up fine, puts up a 22nd place finish at Pebble last week, and he's missed the cut one time here in 7 starts. The rest of those are, top 25s, right? So let's see. Last 3 years, he's gone 26th, 22nd, 8th. Then he didn't play in 2015, and he missed the cut in 2014. Like, that's really good recent course history to go along with his recent form. I'm not really sure how he got down here at $8,400. That feels a bit wrong to me. I haven't started creating lineups yet, but I assume he's going to be, piling up a lot of them. Scrolling down even further, I think Adam Hadwin pops just a little bit here. 18th, 44th, and 2nd in his last 3 starts. He finished 6th here last year. He can be a very streaky player, so kind of like a GPP type play where he'll get, really scorching hot for like a month at a time, and then you won't hear about him for a while. Then he'll get scorching hot for a month at a time, and same thing. We're trying to catch him in that hot streak, which it appears like he's kind of in right now with this really good run. And then finally, before we switch over to another tool here, sneaky Jim Furyk shows up here at $6,900 right here. He plods his way around Pebble last week, ends up finishing 14th under the radar of everyone, just kind of like improves his position every single day. By that 72nd hole, he's in 14th, and you would never know it. And on paper, I don't think you're dying to play Jim Furyk at Riviera, because it would have made more sense as a shorter hitter for him to do well at Pebble, which he ended up doing. But, with Riviera being a bit more demanding, a bit more difficult, you wouldn't be thrilled to roster Furyk here on paper. But if you look at his career, hasn't missed the cut in his last 8 starts here, including 5 top 25s. And even more, I mean, he's got 3 top 15s in that stretch too. So he's played really well here, and he showed us something last week. This could be a nice little $6,900 a play that between him and maybe Harkins and Stroud, someone else, like, those are all pretty decent options down there. And Furyk actually has about a 0.5% chance to win this, which is at, it's 4 times more than JJ Spawn and Hudson Swafford. It's more than Stewart. It's twice as much as Brandon Harkins. So seems to be a pretty decent option against his peers. And we'll cut over to the key stats here for Riviera, for the Genesis Open. If you're new to this, again, this is looking at the last 12 years of PGA stats versus the last 12 years of DraftKings success, and finding the players who have had the most success and what stats that they were successful at in that season, okay? So the highest correlated stats, just without ranking them across the rest of the courses, you get strokes gained total, scoring average, SDFA, strokes gained tee to green, and putts over 10 feet. Nothing really surprising here. I listed them out for you, but again, those are going to be highly correlated every single week. On the other hand, the ones that rank well for Riviera, birdie or better from 150 to 175 is the #1 stat, more than any other course. This is the most important stat for, birdie or better for between 150 and 175 is most important at Riviera is actually a better way to put this. And then birdie or better from the rough. And what that is telling me now is there might be some noise here, right? So birdie or better from 150 to 175 or birdie or better from the rough are pretty specific stats. They can get pretty noisy, but the fact that they both pop up leads me to believe, okay, birdie or better in general, or that proximity range is going to be very important. If you look down even further, approaches from 150 to 175, that proximity stat is also one of the highest ranked stats. So this range really might have something to do with it here. So what you'll see is I included birdie or better. I included proximity from 150 to 175. I also threw in strokes gained around the green, which popped off, approaches under 100. So let's go through some of these. Just sorting by birdie or better. Really no surprises here on a weekly basis. It's DeChambeau, it's Justin Thomas. Actually, Justin Thomas has been unbelievable with his irons. Been making a lot of birdies. It's going to be tough to get off some of these guys over 10,000. Phil shows up here as well, coming in off the win. Then you get Cam Champ and Aaron Wise, who, if you go to my most valuable golfer video, if you go to that tool at the top here, guys that outperform their finishing position, like Phil, Cam Champ, and Aaron Wise are the poster boys of that because they make so many birdies. Then you get down to Leishman, Kuchar, Siwoo Kim, and Tony Finau. Xander's like 12th on this list. So any of these guys making a lot of birdies, again, Kuchar pops up here. And then we'll do proximity from 100 and in, and our main man, Jim Furyk, shows up here. Now, keep in mind, his is a very small sample size, just one tournament, I believe. But average proximity from 100 yards in is 6 feet. That is pretty sharp. You also get Charles Schwartzel, you get Bronson Burgoon, you get Cam Smith, you get Hideki Matsuyama, Adam Scott. These guys are all in play. Cam Smith, Adam Scott also rank well on the birdie or better numbers if you're looking for that. Then we'll go to this proximity 150 to 175, which is popping up in a couple of places. Here we get Danny Willett leading the way, Pat Perez, Ernie Els, Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, Tony Finau. Again, early in the season, there could be a lot of small sample sizes here, but guys that pop off in multiple categories. Now we have Adam Scott, who ranks well in proximity from 100 yards and in, proximity from 150 to 175, birdie or better. He's green in all of these categories. If we look ahead, he's green in putts from 15 to 20 feet. He might be a guy at only 8,700 that we're going to have to put some shares into because he's just popping up all over this model. Strokes gained around the green very quickly here. Led by Terrell Hatton, believe it or not. Actually lapping the field, 1.7 on average strokes gained. Then you get Dustin Johnson, Kevin Na, Tony Finau, Brian Harmon. Xander, again, a top 10 player here. And then guys that fit multiple categories. Now we've got Na, who is strokes gained around the green and proximity from under 100. Finau now pops up in birdie or better, proximity from 150 to 175, and strokes gained around the green. These are guys I will be working my core around. Again, another very small sample size, putts from 15 to 20 feet. This is a percentage of how often you make them. Adam Scott leads the way 40% of the time. Andrew Putnam 40% of the time. Again, could be small sample sizes, but starting to see some familiar names. We get Adam Wise back here, who also kicked off in birdie or better. Tony Finau's like 7th or 8th on this list, so starting to build that core. SDFA, Xander, Schauffele, number 2. Leishman, Cantlay, Thomas, Kuchar, Rahm, Finau. These are the best players in the world for a reason. All these guys pop off. It's basically everybody over 8,500. It's basically everybody in the field. And then scoring average and strokes gained total, I imagine, are going to be pretty similar. They're going to be the top players in the field. We'll go back and we will wrap this up with just looking at the win percentage specifically and who might be under or overpriced here. So the two guys lead the way at the top, DJ and Justin Thomas, 9.7 and 9.0% chance to win this golf tournament. And then it actually drops off pretty significantly. It's only a handful of percentages, but it's half the chance that Rahm, Rory, Bryson, and Phil win this golf event. You would seem to be overpaying on Bubba and Tiger because they both have not a great chance to win this. Xander, we talked about, would be a good value. Paul Casey, Mark Leishman would be a good value in their range. Rafa Cabrera Bello in the top sevens would be a good price. He's about 1.8% chance to win this. Keegan in the mid or low 7,000s. He's 0.8%. A lot of his peers are half of that or less. So he would be a pretty good value there. Talked already about Furyk in his range, about 0.5% to win. And the rest of it looks, oh, here we go. Fred Couples gets a 0.5% to win this at $6,400 compared to some of the scrubs down here at the bottom of the list. Tried to run through that quickly because I know we're waiting on this video. I'll try to get it out as quickly as possible. Let me know what you think about this. I'm also going to post the one and done shortly. I'll also post a recap from Pebble Beach. It's just been a busy week. Bear with me. If you have any questions, comments, mean things to say, whatever you want, tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand or leave a comment below. Talk to you guys soon. See ya.